everyone. Welcome to the When at Work podcast. You're with the host, Julian Leahy. Today I'm joined by the fantastic Matt O'Neill and Melanie Yates. Welcome to the show, guests.
What's up? What's up? Happy to be here, man.
Awesome. All right. We're going to play Jeopardy. Let's go to the next round. And then we're going to meet our guests, as we do, on this podcast. Music, please. All right. Matt, you can kick things off. The categories are 19th century, classical music, in other words, mountains, mythology, and physics.
Sweet. Yeah, let's go with physics for 200, please, Julian.
Physics for 200. What we call the flow of electrons through wire, air, or even yourself.
What is electricity?
Electricity is correct. Well done. All right. Give you the points. You're on that side. All right. You're in control. What would you like?
Let's go with mountains for 200.
Mountains for 200. A flat-topped mountain with steep sides. It's from Spanish for table.
Let's go with what is a plateau?
It's mesa.
A mesa.
Never mind. You're still in control. What would you like?
Let's go with mythology for 200.
Mythology for 200. Lofty means of escape. Daedalus and son Icarus used to flee King Minos. Lofty means of escape. Daedalus and son Icarus used to flee King Minos.
Wings? What are wings?
Yeah, no, Icarus is the one that flew too close to the sun, I think, is it? Wings is correct. Well done.
All right. Let's keep trying some of these categories. Let's go with in other words for 200.
In other words, snag El Toro using his hard bone-like projections.
What are horns?
You can jump in if you've got an answer, Melanie. If you're not, if you don't have one, don't jump in. What is to take the bull by the horns? Okay, so this is sayings, I guess, would be the correct way to call that. Would you like to keep going? Classical music?
Well, let's give Melanie a chance.
Well, you just got to get a correct answer and you'll get control of the board.
Okay. Well, yeah, let's go back to physics. Physics for 400.
Physics for 400. In light, two colors are said to be complementary if, when added together, they produce this color. Finally got the music.
What do you think, Melanie?
In light, two colors are said to be complementary if, when added together, they produce this color.
What is white?
It is white. Well done. Matt's on fire. Matt's
Mountains
feeling
for
guilty.
400.
All right,
Well,
mountains
hey.
for 400. In 1806, he tried to climb the Colorado peak named for him, took a wrong path and wound up on wrong mountain. In 1806, he tried to climb the Colorado peak. So what is the Colorado peak? Named after this wayward mountaineer. What's the famous mountain in Colorado? Mount something, no doubt.
Right. I used to live in Colorado, and I'm trying to think of some of the mountains that we tried to climb.
Is there
I'm stumped.
a clothing brand maybe named after it? Who knows? Let's take a look. It is, I'm going to need to make that bigger. Zebulon Pike. Anyone heard of that?
I would have gotten that wrong.
Yeah, no idea on that one. All right, now you're making me feel bad. Let's go over to Melanie. What would you like? We've got plenty of questions left.
Okay, I'll do classical music 200.
Classical music 200. The symbol for flat closely resembles this lowercase English letter. Flat.
What is B?
What is B? Let's take a look. It is B. Well done, Melanie. All right. Would you like to continue on music?
Okay.
You don't have to. Twisting your arm.
400.
400 classical music. The 1954 Dorothy Dandridge Harry Belafonte film Carmen Jones was based on this composer's opera. That's obscure. Harry Belafonte film Dorothy Dandridge 1954 Carmen Jones was based on this composer's opera. No idea. Let's take a look. It is Bizet or Bizet. Bizet, I think. All right, you're still in control, Melanie. What would you like?
Whew. In other words, 400.
In other words, 400. The 24th letter indicates precise location. The 24th letter indicates precise location. So we got, what, 26 in the alphabet?
How about the letter X?
X is... X marks the spot. They want the saying. Yeah. All right, you're in control still, Melanie.
Okay, in other words, 600.
In other words, 600. A single wicker container should not hold the entire output of thy hen.
Don't count your chickens before they're hatched.
Oh, it's even before that. Even before that in the chicken's life cycle.
What comes first, the chicken or the hen?
Oh, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
So still close.
So close.
Hey, I think ours both were better than that answer.
Well, who knew we had so many chicken sayings? All right, Melanie, you're in control still. What would you like?
Okay, 19th century, 200.
19th century. Ooh, I picked 400 by accident. Holiday begun April 22nd, 1875, because J.S. Morton thought Nebraskans should plant trees. What holiday is to do with trees?
What is Earth Day?
Earth Day? Or anybody else? What do you call a person who cuts down trees in your backyard?
An arborist.
So what would the day be?
Arborist Day.
It's actually Arbor Day. Close.
Arbor Day.
Yeah. I would normally, if I hadn't have given you that clue, I would have given you that.
No, I wouldn't have gotten to it without your clue.
All right. What's next, Melanie?
19th century, 200.
290th century. In 1869, professional players of this sport earned a maximum of $1,400 a year and didn't strike. Bit of a play on words there. What professional players of this sport earned a maximum of $1,400 a year and didn't strike?
What is baseball?
Oh, well, that's a good answer, but I was thinking something else completely. Let's take a look. It is baseball. Do you know what I was thinking?
Melanie.
I was
Cricket.
thinking 10-pin bowling.
Oh, 10-pin bowling. Oh,
Well done, Melanie. You knew all along. You got it correct. Well done. You're on 400.
Oh boy.
It's like pulling teeth every time I go to Melanie.
Oh
when
my
will this
gosh.
end?
There's nothing I want to answer there. Okay. In other words, 800.
That's my favorite one.
In other words, 800, perpetually place one's prime pedal extremity in advance. What's the saying? Just say you've
What?
had a hard week. There's only one thing you can do tomorrow. Or you just gotta put
Put the pedal to the metal.
put your best foot forward. I was going to say, or put one foot in front of the other and just keep going.
Oh, yeah.
Continuing on,
Those
Melanie.
ones are tough.
Yeah, tough. They're all tough. They're real Jeopardy questions. They're not easy.
Okay. In other words, 1,000.
In other words, 1,000. Perform an optical scan prior to execution of a JET. Jete. Sounds like a dance step or something. Perform an optical scan prior to execution of a jete.
Look before you leap.
Oh, that's the one. It's got to be it. Well done, Matt. You are in control. Excuse me. In control.
All right, let's go physics, 600.
Physics for 600. Though it holds our planet together, it's actually a much weaker force than electromagnetism.
What is gravity?
Sounds pretty good to me. Gravity's correct. Well done.
Let's go 800.
Matt. 800 on physics. Invented in 1947 to improve electron microscope images, this science created a 3D picture. Has anybody here been pregnant before?
Not me.
No, not you. Okay. Well, this is something that you might get done if you were pregnant.
What is an ultrasound?
I reckon that sounds pretty good. I just pulled that one. I don't know if that's correct. Oh, I was totally wrong. Often I will bark up the wrong tree and lead you astray. It's holography. Holograms.
Wouldn't have gotten it.
No.
Wouldn't have gotten it anyway.
Okay.
Nope.
Thank you. I feel better. All right.
Mythology for 400.
What was that? Mythology for 400. Let's take a look. An ancient Rubik's Cube spliced by the father of Midas, sliced by Alexander. All right. So Midas had the gold touch. Who was his father? Mythology. I'm not sure. Some sort of puzzle put together by Midas's. No idea on this one.
Let's go with Pandora's box.
Good idea. Good question. Let's take a look. It was the Gordian knot.
Wouldn't have had
Honestly, I think I might have heard of it, but I would have never got that one in a million years. What would you like next, Matt?
Let's go with mountains, 600.
Mountains for 600. Lake Placid and the source of the Hudson are found in this New York group of mountains.
Melanie, what are the mountains in New York?
I only know the Rockies, but I have no idea where they are.
Yeah, and on the East Coast, we have got, what's that really old mountain range?
Where do people go skiing in New York?
Vermont. They go to Vermont and the Appalachian Mountains. Let's try the Appalachian.
Oh, Appalachian. The Adirondacks. Adirondacks. Okay. Well,
That
there
makes
you go.
sense.
Never heard of that one.
You ever heard of Adirondack chairs?
Oh, no, I haven't.
No, you haven't seen them? Okay.
No, we're a bit backwards down here. All right, continuing on, Matt. What would you like?
Let's go mountains, 800.
Mountains for 800. The highest active volcano in Europe. It's found in Italy. Now, is it the big one?
Pompeii? Is it Pompeii?
Yeah, could be that one. Is that one active? Let's take a look. It is Etna. Pompeii.
I guess mountains is not my forte here.
No.
Let's go back to Melanie's classical music for 600.
Classical music is 600. In 1818, Heinrich Stolzel took out a patent on this horn improvement, allowing changes of pitch? What horn can you change the pitch of?
Let's try French horn.
French horn? I'm thinking the one that goes like this.
Oh, yeah.
Let's take a look. It's the Stotzel valve.
We were way off.
I think you had to have been a music kid at high school to know that one.
I don't even think that that's the case. I was the drum major of our marching band, and I've never heard of a Stotzel valve. Classical music for 800.
Classical music 800. Other orchestra members standardly get their A note for tuning from this instrument. Where does everyone tune in their instruments? Who do they stand next to tune in the orchestra?
What do you think, Melanie?
What is a piano?
That's what I was thinking. Let's take a look. It is the oboe.
Oboe.
You always hear that at the beginning of an orchestra. You hear that one oboe note.
That's the long one. Is that like the Kenny G one?
No, the oboe is a really small clarinet.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. What would you like?
Classical music 1000.
I'm glad you knew who Kenny G was. He wrote his farewell symphony as a hint, and the orchestra wanted to leave for Vienna. Oh, he and the orchestra wanted to leave for Vienna. He wrote his farewell symphony as a hint.
Who is Beethoven?
Beethoven. Let's take a look. It was Franz Joseph Haydn. I wonder if it had anything to do with the war stuff that was going on. He wanted to get out of Germany or something.
Yeah.
Continuing on, what would you like, Matt?
Physics for 1000.
Physics for 1000. Branch of physics dealing with motion like the bumping of molecules in a gas.
Kinetics.
That's what I was thinking. That's motion. Let's take a look. Kinetics is correct. Well done,
We got
Matt.
one.
You're on 3,400. What would you like?
All right. Mountains for 1000.
Mountains for 1,000. Elijah took on 450 prophets of Baal and 400 from Asherah on the slopes of this mountain above Haifa, somewhere in the Middle East. Can anyone go to Sunday school? What was the mountains in the Bible? I can't remember. I was getting in trouble at Sunday school. Let's take a look. Mount Carmel is correct.
We've only got 6 more. 19th century for 600.
19th century for 600. Company set up by American Express in 1852 to speed up gold shipments from California.
Federal Express.
That's a good answer. What's the one favored by scammers? Well, it was 20 years ago. Starts with a W. Let's take a look. Oh, well, it is starting with a W. It's Wells Fargo. I thought Western Union. All right, should we continue on 19th century?
I think so.
Effective May 16, 1870, the Central and Union Pacific RRs, whatever that means, said you could do it in 6 days and 20 hours.
Across the continental United States.
Across the United States is correct. Well done, Matt.
All right, 19th century for 1000.
For a promotional stunt in 1889, this newspaper publisher sent Nellie Bly around the world. Which newspaper?
A publisher.
Newspaper publisher.
What do you think? What do you think, Melanie? What's your guess?
What is New York Times?
That's what I was going to say.
Let's take a look. It was Joseph Pulitzer.
The Pulitzer Prize.
The prize was named after him. Mythology for 600. Hercules, Orpheus, and Castor and Pollux were among those who joined the search for this. What were they searching for?
The Holy Grail.
The Holy Grail. Have you heard that song? The Golden Fleece. So they reckon there was a sheep that had a fleece made of gold. Silly sausages. Anyway, mythology for 800. Hermaphroditus, whose body combined both sexes, had name combining these two gods, his parents. Hermaphroditus. Who were his parents in Greek mythology? I think it's Greek mythology.
Hermes and Aphrodite.
Okay. I see what you did there, and you are correct. Well done, Matt. Brilliant. Last question. God who gave his name to a river in Asia Minor, proverbially known for its wanderings.
What's a river in Asia?
Oh, there's one that starts with a Y in China. Isn't there? What's it called? I can't remember. Let's take a look. Oh, the Meander was the answer. Let's have a round of applause for our guests. We have Matt on 5,000, Melanie on 400. They were very tough questions today, as they often are. Let's wrap it up there, the applause. All right, let's go to Melanie in the left. I should have got you to kick off the game. Tell us a little bit about what you've been up to, and and has led you to, I guess, being happy.
Yeah, well, I worked 21 years in the medical field, taking x-rays of arteries and veins. And just recently, in the last 2 years, I was able to retire from that career. And instead of saving lives from atherosclerosis, I like saving marriages and emotion, mental health from divorce and relationships. So instead of saving physical lives, I feel like I'm saving spiritual and emotional and mental lives.
And why did you want to do that?
Well, for me, everything usually comes from being in pain. and so when I'm in enough pain, that makes me want to do something about it. So that's what happened is, the medical field has just kind of that career is prone to burnout. And so I think also, I went through my own divorce, and so wanting to walk through that with grace and dignity and have the best outcome for our son led me to, want to do it right and then use my experience to help others. So that's why I love passing on my experience to help somebody else.
Yeah, it's a big one when you get these big life challenges, especially sort of later on once they come out of nowhere. They can be shocking, and you've gotten through that, and now you're helping other people. What are some of the things we do wrong in terms of balancing the demands of career and personal life and relationships?
Well, I think it's hard to have that balance, right? Being in the medical field and being on call is very demanding, and home life is also demanding. So for me, I've learned that I have to take care of myself. I have to invest in my own physical and mental well-being. Otherwise, I'm not able to sustain taking care of other people and performing at, my best. So I always start with, what are you doing for your own self-care and your own self-love? What are you doing to invest in yourself, because what a great mentor told me once is, if you don't do it now, you'll pay double later.
Yes, and we get into these patterns of behaviour which get sort of more entrenched as we go along, and it's very difficult to change. I mean, can we change? And what can we do to change unwanted behaviours?
Repetition. To actually build new neural pathways in our brain, you have to repeat. So usually whatever results you're having currently, it's because you've had a repetitive thought and a repetitive feeling and a repetitive behavior that has gotten you where you're at right now. So if you want to change, you have to keep repeating the behavior that you want. And that's what's so great about having a coach or a therapist or an accountability partner, because most of us don't reach our goals because first we're not even clear about writing them down, and then we don't have the accountability. We need to do things with other people. I think we try to do it by ourselves. It's been my experience when I do things by myself, it either takes a lot longer, or I lose, my pep and my steam to like keep inspiration and motivation going. So I've found that, if you're trying to change, don't do it by yourself. Find someone who is ahead of you in the change, and then have somebody that you can be accountable to. And sometimes that word accountable is a negative connotation, but really accountable, think of the word to count. It just means to count what's going on. So you're tracking what you are actually doing. It's not a negative thing. It's just a way to see, take inventory of what works and what doesn't. It's not supposed to beat you up or make you do something or feel bad because you didn't. It's just information.
I like how you said the count. It's because it's about consistency and doing anything that you want to keep doing, whatever it is. You just got to find a way that makes it happen on the times that you want it to happen. Make it keep happening, because we have these 3-month cycles. I find, me personally anyway, where I will get excited about something and I'll do it, and then by the 3rd month I'm pretty much forgotten all about it, unless I have something that is like clockwork making me do it, whether you have an accountability partner that you touch base with each week. Is that a big part of what you do? So if somebody wants to make some changes and they want to be serious and make them lasting, how do you interact with them? Do you have online meetings with them as an accountability partner?
Absolutely. That's part of my coaching business, is meeting one-on-one, and setting up a way to implement the change they want to create. So I think when you're sure about what you really want and you have that on paper, your brain needs a direction. So I always think of it's like GPS. If you've never been to that place before, if you have never been to that change, you need to direct your brain how to get there. You need directions. And so having a clear destination and then plotting, the turns that you need to take to get there is really important. So a lot of it is just being aware of, okay, this is where I am right now. This is where I want to go. These are the steps in between. And then having somebody, I love the phrase, a life of consultation, because for me, I could be going down a road and it's like, well, this just, like in my gut, it doesn't feel right. Or I'm so sure I'm going down the right road, but it's like not getting me any closer to my destination. When for me, I lack the ability sometimes to know the truth from the lies. And so when you are able to find somebody that has either been down that road before or knows where you're going, sometimes an outside perspective is it's life-changing. I still need others to kind of brainstorm and consult with what my mind is telling me. Sometimes I can be so sure that I see something the way it is, and it's just I'm seeing that thing through my experience, my previous experience. So there's this phrase that, thinking, the same thinking that is getting me the results that I have currently, that thinking isn't enough to get me out of it. And so having other people and other resources to help me change that thinking and give me more information about where I'm going is I wouldn't live my life any other way today.
Yeah, sometimes, like you say, you feel like you're sure you're on the right path, but something's not there. And then when you speak to somebody, it allows you just to, I've just got to tweak it, or I've just got to do this slight extra thing, and it all falls into place. And it is just from talking to people, like you say, people that have been through a journey themselves, and it just makes a huge difference. I go in mastermind groups and things like that, and I get so much benefit from talking to people. So I'm a big advocate for having some sort of regular contact, and like you say, a brainstorming session in whatever form is just hugely beneficial. And what type of people do you work with mostly, Melanie?
Well, right now I'm working with medical professionals who are struggling with burnout, or just people, people that are really busy and want to improve or make progress in other areas. My favorite thing to talk about is relationships. I absolutely love helping people make progress in their marriage, walk through divorce gracefully, or even dating. Like it's crazy out there. And so to me, everything is a skill. So you learn more about it, you practice, you make progress, and even master. We have the Olympics going on right now. Think about what Olympians do to master their skill. I mean, repetition and consistency and practice and time. Like, they put a lot of energy into mastering their skill. And so that's what relationships are about. We learn how to communicate better, how to ask for our needs better, have better boundaries, whatever it is that we're looking to make better. Usually there's a skill that we can practice and make progress. Even forgiveness, even happiness is a skill. And when we keep practicing and learning, we make progress, and it makes a difference in those goals or those destinations we're headed towards.
Sure does. And if people want to get in touch with you, I've got Melanie's website and LinkedIn and stuff in the show notes. And do you touch base with them and have a chat, introductory chat with people?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. I would love to. I love solving problems. So if you want to just make a quick appointment to just tell me your problems, I guarantee that you'll leave with a nugget of perspective that you probably haven't heard before. And so it's a win-win.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for sharing that, Melanie Yates. Great job. All right, Matt, we're over to you now, and you're in a similar sort of field, I suppose. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing and spreading happiness, I suppose, and what's led you into that, and why is being happy a choice?
Yeah, I really loved everything you had to say, Melanie. I thought it was beautiful. I know you're out there making a difference in the world and changing people's lives. And of course, helping people navigate relationships is one of the most important things that we can possibly do, because life is just relationship. So my focus is more on my podcast, and it's the Good Mood Revolution podcast. And I like to get on the mic and share my insights about how to not be in bad moods, because the only thing that's keeping us from happiness is our own thoughts. And when we get incorrect thoughts in the way, then we end up suffering. And I wrote a book, The Good Mood Revolution, as well. It identifies the 8 bad moods and the thoughts that accompany those 8 bad moods, and really kind of what those thoughts are about, how I experience them in my life, because we can't get away from these 8 bad mood thoughts, but then how to flip the thinking around and see the other side of it, that other perspective Melanie was talking about with her coaching. Through my book and my podcast, I just offer that kind of advice to people who are trying to solve it themselves.
And when did you start your podcast, and why did you?
When I was 5 years old.
Well, that's a long. Oh, sorry. Yes, continue on.
I had a notion that I was going to write a book, and I was going to teach people how to feel better. And then when I was in my teens, it came back, and in my 20s, it came back. And finally, in 2017, I decided I would start to write a book about how to make people feel better. And the podcast came along a couple years ago as I was continuing to get ideas about how to really convey this message to help people find more happiness in their lives. Started to interview a lot of people who are happiness experts. And, at this point, hundreds of interviews with the top happiness experts in the world. I've really fine-tuned what it means to be happy.
So the book came first, and what was the response like to the book?
Oh, the book is on pre-order right now. It just took me 4 years to write it because I didn't want to write about things I didn't know.
Got you. Okay. And you do coaching as well?
Not like Melanie. Yeah. So the primary way people get in touch with me is through the Good Mood Revolution podcast and through the book.
Awesome. All right. Well, if you want to check out Matt's podcast, probably the best thing to do is check out the podcast, get to know Matt and what he's doing, get into his world, and take it from there. Would you say, Matt?
Yeah, no, I think absolutely. And if there's anyone listening, or the person listening to this podcast now, happiness is a choice. I liked what Melanie had to say, that happiness is a skill. It is, and so is anger. Anger is a skill. We can get really good at it. So is shame, feeling like we're not enough. That's a skill. We learn these skills when we're young, like this thought that we're not good enough. And then when we repeat it to ourselves over and over and over again, we get really good at proving that we're not good enough. And then trying to prove that we are enough through our accomplishments. We get good at trying to do that too. But unlearning those negative skills is also a skill. And you can get good at understanding that you're good enough no matter what you achieve, and that happiness is a choice each day.
I think bitterness is a big one, and particularly around men, or men that I know, and it comes down to the not talking about feelings and mental health, which has been a long. I guess it's a historical thing in my family. But I'm glad that people are now able to talk about it. Like, we've got professional rugby players taking mental health breaks, in the middle of the season and stuff like that, which never used to happen. And people are starting to understand that bottling it up is just not the way to go. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, it's because historically, to be macho was to have all the answers and to not show any weakness or any vulnerability. And it makes sense, right? If you show weakness on the battlefield, somebody's going to they're going to slit your throat and you're going to die. On the rugby field, if you show weakness, they're going to exploit you and win the game, and you have to win at all costs, right? That's the society that we live in. And but the ultimate confidence, the ultimate macho is being fully comfortable with your humanity. And admitting weaknesses and vulnerabilities is not a weakness, it's a strength. When we hide our vulnerabilities, when we say we have no insecurities, when we pretend like we're infallible, that is a weakness. And everyone can see that we actually do have weaknesses and we're covering it up with this big macho facade. But what you're saying is that then we just stuff these feelings down and then they start to manifest in other ways. You said bitterness. Well, it's, anger, frustration. We're covering up all this hurt and pain and this feeling that we could get rejected and that we're not good enough down underneath. And as we cover that up, we really fear it. So then on an aggressive approach, we try to be more aggressive than other people will attack to put them on their heels so that they don't have the chance to attack us back and find out that we're really vulnerable. And it's not a good game. It's a cycle where we were wounded probably when we were younger.
Yeah.
We didn't like it. So we made ourselves real big, tough, and macho. That's what I did. And then I was super arrogant and aggressive. And I would do what I was just describing. I would make sure that people are always on their toes around me, because if they weren't, then they could put me on my heels and then I would be exposed as being weak. But underneath it, what happens when you put this big wall up is that, you're not allowing anybody to hurt you, but you're also not feeling true love or true elation or true happiness or true joy. When you shut down one approach where no one can get in, you also shut down the opportunity for you to fully feel your positive emotions too. So it just kind of dulls life. As you said, bitterness. We'll see people turn to addictions at this point.
Yeah.
The pain is so big that I'll just go ahead and drink a lot. That's what I was doing, or do drugs a lot, which is also what I was doing, and trying to mask all this pain that we don't want to feel and try to feel something happy, because again, we don't know how to feel that either when we shut it all down. And these are, I think drugs and alcohol or other ways to escape.
Yeah.
These are positive things. We're trying to feel good. It's just not a healthy way to feel good. The healthy way to feel good is to undo the armor, take away all the layers of the protection, and deal with the hurt and the wounds, this wounded inner child that is just saying, hey, I do feel hurt sometimes. I do feel vulnerable sometimes. And I want to know that I'm worthwhile, even if I'm not always perfect or I'm not always strong and macho. And then hopefully you start to realize that you are worthwhile all the time. And then your heart starts to open up. I used to think about people in their 60s, older men in their 60s or 70s, and you would see them crying at a wedding. I don't know if Julian, if you can relate to what I'm saying, but I would see, somebody's grandfather would always get weepy around something really happy, and that wasn't me. And I wondered, why are these older men get so weepy in happy occasions like weddings or holding their grandchild for the first time? And the strong, tough men in their 30s or 40s don't act that way. Well, as we get older, we start to realize all of that facade is not needed. And we start to put down the armor, and then we get really in touch with what it really means to be human. And then we get touched by the world in a positive way. So when we're at a beautiful wedding ceremony, or we are seeing a child doing something that's really remarkable, it's so moving to be human that you can just weep at how awesome it is. But what if we could do that now? What if we don't need to wait until our walls come down? We could take them down now. And that's really what I'm trying to teach humanity.
Yeah, and you mentioned kids, and for me that was a big one. Having 3 boys, and say one of them very sensitive, and my natural thing of how I was brought up was, don't cry, get on with it. What are you doing?
Me too.
And
Yep.
and I immediately kind of was lucky enough to realize that I needed to stop that because everybody's different, and some people have different levels of anxiety and emotion, and so I was able to stop myself. Fortunately, like my dad was not able to pull out of that, and because he had a very kind of tough life, but there's hope, and the kids is a good kind of resetting point where you can plug into some of this stuff and look at what people are doing, and Matt's podcast, and what Melanie's doing, and take these opportunities so that because for me having kids is the one thing you can improve. You cannot pass on things that are bad, and you can make healthier people.
But we're unconsciously going to pass on stuff that we haven't fixed.
Yeah, 100%.
And there's things that I haven't cleared up that I'm still passing. We have 4 kids, and there's still things I'm passing on to them that they're going to have to clean up. And it's just part of it, right? But I think it's beautiful that you recognize that the way you and I were raised, that men don't cry. That was something I was told when I was a really, really young boy. And I internalized it. I was like, well, shoot, I'm a man. I'm not going to cry. And then I didn't cry for like 4 decades because I was like, I'm a man. And I was told we don't cry and you just toughen up.
Well, I'm a bit of a sook, so I definitely cried more than 4 decades.
Yeah,
4 days.
I didn't. But and you noticed it with your son that, hey, that wasn't a healthy thing. That my dad was probably doing the best he could telling me that stuff. He was doing the best he could. He had a tough upbringing. It's beautiful for you to recognize your dad had a tough upbringing, and you can start to have compassion for the way that they treated you and why they were doing what they were doing. But yeah, society's waking up. Consciousness is waking up. We're all becoming more and more aware of what it means to be human. And I think each generation gets to benefit from the growth of the generation before them. And we're like in this really awesome place. Look at, I think, some really positive things that have happened in just the last decade or two. The Me Too movement. It was awesome. Pendulum may have swung a little bit too far, but it was something that needed to happen. And then Black Lives Matter, again, like something that just needed to be addressed and said. And we're now same-sex marriages are accepted, and everybody's being accepted for who they are. And when I was growing up, racism was a true thing. Like it was, and I know it is now, but it was probably twice as bad. Racism probably twice as bad when I was a child versus now just 40 years later. How far we've come in just accepting everyone for who they are, where they are, understanding we're all basically the same human beings struggling with the exact same things, regardless of what we look like, who we choose to love, what skin color we have, where we grew up, what religion we practice. We are all the same human beings living on the same planet. And I think coronavirus is another thing that kind of brought us together on that. But it's been pretty fun. I have people, I always find it interesting. People say, oh, with how bad the world is today. And I think the world's the best today that it's ever been. And it'll be better next year. It'll be better next year. It'll be better next year. But if you look at history, World War I was just 100 years ago. World War II was 80 years ago. These were millions of lives being killed for racial hate. And just 100 years later, look how much further and how much better things are. So think about where we're going to be 100 years from now, how much more beautiful things will be.
Well, you're optimistic, Matt. I'm kind of a bit worried about where things are heading, but
every single generation feels worried about where things are heading. Just letting you know, like that's the general consensus right now is the world's in a pretty tough spot. But it's all people have always felt that. Yeah. I'm telling you, if you look at history, like really closely look at history, you'll see that this is the most peaceful, most progressive, most accepting time of humanity yet.
Yeah.
And it's going to continue to get better.
Definitely. Well, some wise words there from Matt. Thank you very much for sharing that with us, Matt, and also Melanie, our wonderful guests. I'm going to wrap things up. See you next time. Bye.